What up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a little bit of in the bag / cart. Since I rock with the cart instead of the bag, I'm just going to give you guys a little glimpse into what I'm going to be throwing this 2022 year. Before we start, shout out to my two new sponsors for 2022, Grip Locked and Plastic House Disc Golf. That's his hat. Without them, there's no way I would be able to play as much disc golf as I'm planning on to this year. They just took a lot of the financial burden off, and it's amazing. Make sure you guys shop at those two places. They both sell great discs. They both have a very different selection of discs, Discraft, and things like that. Plastic House is your person. Innova and Discmania, Grip Locked has you covered. Both of them have other molds too, and it's just amazing. At griplocked.com, you can use my name, Phil, capital Phil, and you can get 10% off of your order. If that's not enough reason to shop there, I don't know what it is. He already has low prices, and now with that, they're even lower. Let's get into in the bag. All right, first up, we're gonna have my putt and approach discs. So this year, I'm putting with roaches. They're hard roaches that I've beat in over the past probably six-ish months, and they're just amazing now. I don't like the soft roaches because I feel like they beat in and they get too soft. These hard roaches kind of beat in and they get like malleable, but not quite super hard, and just feels really, really good in my hand. They're also super beat up because at home I practice putt on cobblestone sometimes, and when I started I missed a lot, so they got really worn on the edges, but I really like the feel of it. It gives me a little extra grip, I think. Putters and then approaches. I am a Gift Freaky believer. I believe in this Gift Freaky. This is probably one of the discs I've had in my bag the longest, and it is my go-to really approach disc. Anything under 250 feet, if it's a forehand, I'm probably throwing this Gift Freaky unless I need a super hard right turn. I can just make it do whatever I want. I can make it go straight. I can make it really fade. I can just handle as much torque as I want to put on it forehand. Just a really, really good overall disc. It's a little puddle top too, I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, it's just pretty great. This is something I just new put in my bag for this year for those more touchy approaches. If I don't need a big skip, I really can't afford to really move any farther than I do whenever I hit the ground. This soft zone feels really similar to the Gift Freaky because it's also a little puddle topped, and it flies super similar. I'm really, really loving it. Might end up switching to Gift Freaky just off the tee and on longer approaches or in the wind or when I need to really like throw it hard, just so I can save this disc a little more and it doesn't get beat up as quickly, and go to the soft zone for all my little touch approaches. Well, I don't know. We'll see. And then for my backhand approaches or anything backhand, I just love this Paul & Beth Tour Series Luna 2020. It is, or 2021 actually. Just a really, really good disc. It holds straight. I can put it on almost any angle to just kind of hold it and fade back with a little stability at the end. So my go-to backhand type of approach disc, or if I just need a straight to fade 250, 300-foot shot, this is the disc. All right, now we're gonna get into the mids. I'm gonna start off with my understables. So I have two Meteors in the cart this year. This one is a little bit older, and it's gonna have a little bit more turn. This one I have to throw on a lot of hyzer. I can throw flat, and it'll just hold this consistent right turn and never come out of it. Really, really good disc if you need it. I throw a lot of forehands. I feel like I'm pretty proficient. My forehands, especially like the flip-up forehand, so I don't need to turn over as much. But there are times when I need a turnover, and this is the disc that I'll pull out. This disc, this is my probably go-to, just dead straight, not much fade, a little bit of turn, just basically point and shoot disc. This is a little bit of a newer 2020 Van Dyken Meteor, and this is a disc I pop out at like I don't know what that is at, like 30-degree angle, let it flip up to flat, doesn't fade at all. It literally just flies dead straight until it just falls out of the sky. It's just a great, really, really good overall disc. Something I'm super comfortable throwing. Just one of my just go-to disc for any straight shot. Up next, we're gonna have the Wasp, the Tour Series 2021 Adam Hammes Tour Series Wasp. It is very similar in flight to the Meteors, but with a little bit more fade at the end. I can trust this one kind of flat and then know that it'll just kind of go straight, but it'll get that little left fade at the end, as opposed to Meteors, which are gonna either finish a little bit right or they're gonna finish straight. This is gonna finish left 90% of the time unless I overturn or I throw it in a headwind. Then last, my stable mid is gonna be this Malta. This is another really old disc. It's a little bit beat in. It's not as much of a beefcake as it was when I first got it, but it still does kind of what I needed to do. I can throw it flat, I can throw it higher. I know it's going to push, and it's going to give me this much harder fade left than that Wasp is. So if I need something that goes a little bit harder to the left at the end, the Malta is what I'm grabbing instead of the Wasp. But if I need a soft fade, probably going with the Wasp. My mids, I'm probably throwing for anything inside of 250 to 310, 330. That like 60 to 70 foot range is where I'm comfortable with throwing my mids. I feel like I have that range dialed in. So let's get into the fairways. All right, first up in the fairways is one of my favorite fairways. It's the Stalker. I used to have 2 of them in my bag, but I recently just lost one. This is my more stable one. The other one I had would flip up to flat, and it was very, very sad day when I lost it. But it's okay. I'm making it work. This one, I just had to learn to throw this one on different angles. This one on a hyzer would just kind of flip up and ride, and then finish on a hyzer. Also, I had to learn to throw this one kind of flat and let it just kind of go straight, or a little bit of ante and let it just kind of turn, but it doesn't turn and burn. It kind of just turns and rides this little angle and then finishes out flat and hyzers out. Really, really love this disc. Anything from 330 or 315 to like 345, 350, straight shot or any backhand hyzer. Probably pulling out this Stalker. Then we get into my Raptors. I have 3 Raptors that all do 3 completely different things. This yellow one is a Big Z Raptor. This is the least Raptor disc you'll ever see in your life. This is my go-to for kind of forehand flip-up disc or backhand kind of hyzer pushing flip-up disc. I need a little more speed than the Stalker gives me. It basically flips up to flat and turns a little bit, and then but it still has that Raptor stability at the end where it comes back and fights out and gives me a nice right finish on a forehand or a left finish on a backhand. Unless I overturn it, I throw it on ante, this disc will always fight out of it and finish left. But it will push and it'll carry more than a normal Raptor was. So it's just a really, really good disc. You really can't buy them like this. It just kind of beats in like this, and you just use it until it stops doing it. This white one is a little bit very similar to the yellow one I just showed you, but not as much turn. It kind of flips up to flat and then it's kind of rides straight for about 250, and then it will finish right on a forehand. Backhand I can get it up to a little farther than that, but mostly use this on my forehanding, kind of for a little hyzer, pop it up to flat, really a point and shoot, just let it go and watch the flight. Really, really good flight. I love it. And then you have my stable Raptor. This is a little bit of a newer Z Raptor, so it still has a lot of stability left to it. This thing does not flip up at all and doesn't turn left at all. It just kind of pushes on this hyzer. It's hard for me to get it out farther than like 250, 260 just because it is so much of a beefcake without having to throw it on this big flex line or have it do one of those things. But it is what I'm looking for in a Raptor that I'm putting in this slot, this beefcake slot. So really, really love this Z Raptor, and it's flat and it just feels really good in your hand. It just feels beefy. Moving on from the Raptors, we're gonna have our Undertakers. Once again, I have 3 Undertakers that do 3 completely different things. People might say, oh, why do you bag a Raptor and an Undertaker? They're both 9 speeds. Well, the Raptors I use for flicking, and the Undertakers I use for backhanding mostly. That's basically why I carry 3 of each of those discs that do very similar things. But for the Undertaker, doesn't have that same stability that the Raptor has. The Raptor has that stability like I'm talking about. To even my flipping one will still want to fight out at the end. If I throw these Undertakers on forehand, they're probably not fighting out unless I give it a lot of hyzer and put a lot of touch on it. The Raptors, I don't have to worry about that. The Undertakers on my backhand, though, are just money. This is my flipping one. I can pop out on a hyzer like this, and it'll turn and flip up, and it's just going to turn right. And it might finish out at the end, but if you do get a little finish left, not a lot of finish. This is the flippy Undertaker. It's a Page Pierce. Next, we have my ESP Undertaker. This is probably my favorite Undertaker to throw, just because I know I can pop it out on a hyzer. It's going to flip up a little bit, but it's not going to turn. It's going to just ride that hyzer 370, 380, and it's just a disc that I'm really, really comfortable throwing backhand. And my go-to if I'm in the woods or if I need a straight to pushing hyzer shot, this is the disc that I'm grabbing. And then lastly, in the Undertakers, we're going to have my Dark Horse Undertaker. This thing is stable for an Undertaker. I've never seen another Undertaker that's this stable. It's like a titanium blend, but this thing is my Undertaker that I'm going to throw if there's any headwind or if I need something that I know is not going to turn or kind of flip up. It's just kind of go straight and then finish left and finishes harder. This is going to be the hardest finishing Undertaker that I have. The other two are going to have a little fade on it or a little finish at the end, but not much. This one is going to give me that finish, maybe even a little bit of skip, depending on the height and the ground play at the end of it. So those are my Undertakers. Moving on to this little hybrid. Some people call them fairways, some people call them drivers. They're a little bit this in-between range. I compare it to like basically like a hybrid in normal golf, where it's not quite a driver, it's not an iron though. You can hit it off the tee, you can hit it off the ground. It's just kind of whatever you want to do. So these are my 10 and my like 11 speeds. First up is this new Onyx that I just put in my bag recently, and I love it. I can trust it in headwinds if I don't want to mess with the Undertakers and mess with any amount of like turn at all. I know I can throw this on some hydra and just kind of ride straight. Super glidey disc, and it has stability to it, but it's not crazy stable to where it's almost like too beefy. It's just kind of a really good mix. Yeah. Then we get into my roller disc, which is this Avenger SS. If I need to throw a roller, which I don't throw a lot of, I'm throwing this disc. I've started working with like the kind of the sky roller, but also for these lower type of shots, where it's more of like a thrower, a purposeful thrower, where you just kind of throw it out kind of flat and let the disc just work and get on cut angle and just go. Start to mess around with that a lot. I'm starting to really like it. I think this disc is just enough flip to where it'll get on cut and ride, but I know it's going to stand up eventually if I just give it enough room and put it where I want to on the fairway. This is Avenger SS, one of the oldest discs in my bag. If you can see this ATS, that's something I wrote on a lot of my older discs that I have, because when I was first beginning, I was really struggling with my mental game, especially during tournaments, of just, oh, you throw a bad shot, all of a sudden your whole tournament's just gone, that round's gone. That one bad shot you just threw carries into the next shot, carries into the next shot, and you just kind of start this bogey train. And that's something that you just can't do. So ATS, which means attack this shot, is basically just a little reminder for me every time I look at my disc that, hey, whatever just happened already like happened. There's nothing you can do to change that. The only thing you can do is just attack this current shot you're in and make this shot as good as best as you possibly can. No reason to let what just happened continue to happen and to influence your next shot. So move on, throw a good shot, make up for that last shot, because that's the only thing you can do. And lastly, we get in this 11-speed Scorch. This is a super glidey disc. Throws disc a lot in the woods because I can trust it on hyzer. I like throwing hyzers, if you couldn't tell. But I can trust it on hyzer. I know it's going to flip up and turn a little bit, and then still going to finish out a little bit at the end. It's just a really good woods disc because it's not a fast disc, so I don't have to throw it as hard to get the same flight that I would if I was throwing a nuke or something like that. So those are my type of hybrid in-between discs. And last but not least, we're getting into the drivers, but everybody's favorite disc to throw are. So I have 3 nukes in my bag. Once again, one flippy one, one middle one, and one of my more stable ones. I throw all these nukes backhand, forehand. They all have a very similar flight. I backhand on the flippy one, I can really power it. It's going to kind of ride straight and then going to finish a little bit at the end. The middle one is going to be a little bit more thrown flat to Annie. It's going to give me a nice turn and then still finish. And the stable one is just going to be, it's pretty stable. Forehand, the flippy one is getting a little flippy on me. I have a lot more torque forehand than I do backhand, and I'm really having to put even more and more hyzer on it. And it's just starting to turn and just turn way too much. So looking for a new nuke to put in the bag for the forehand flip ups, but maybe my middle one will beat in. I don't know. We'll see. The flippy one is going to be this ESP Dallas Open one. It is, like I said, just a pretty, really good disc. It used to be just an absolute bomber forehand, but it's starting to turn a lot. It still bombs backhand because I don't have as much snap backhand, but I can still get it out 410, 420, 430-ish consistently and comfortably. So really good disc. Another ESP nuke. This one is a little bit newer, so it's not quite as beat in. It's also a little more domey. I don't know if you can see this. So it has a little bit more stability to it, a lot more glide. And I just really love this disc. This disc has, I can throw it in headwind, believe it or not. I can throw it on some hyzer, and it'll just flip up to flat and ride and still finish left. It's just one of my favorite discs to throw. It feels really good in my hand. If I'm throwing any type of shot where I need distance but also don't want to mess with possible turn or whatnot, I'm throwing this disc. This is a disc that I can trust on hyzer. I know it's still going to give me at least 380, 390, and it's still going to finish left, no turn at all. And then lastly, we have this Z-Nuke. This thing is this is the oldest disc in my bag. I know I've said that about a lot, but this is the disc I've had the longest. It's not quite as stable as it used to be on my forehand, but on my backhand, it still has all the stability that I'm looking for from my nukes. It's just a really, really good disc. Z-Nuke. And then lastly, in the drivers, we're going to have my Forces and my Nuke OS. First up, this is a new Force I kind of just got. It's a money stamp. I don't know if you can tell. But yeah, this thing is exactly what I'm looking for in a Force. It can power it on a forehand. It's going to go straight. And it's going to finish right. Not much turn. Not much risk of it ever really going left on the forehand. And not much risk of it ever going right on the backhand. It's basically as advertised as a Force. It is just a really, really money disc. And lastly, I have my trick disc, my Nuke OS, which is way more stability than any one man should ever need in his bag. But sometimes you just have those janky holes where you just need to almost go straight right off the tee. And this disc is a really, really good disc for that. It is beefy beyond all content. I don't think I've ever seen this disc go straight more than like 150 feet. It's crazy. So yeah, that is all the discs that are in my bag for this year. I'm rocking the Zuca cart again this year with an infinite power pocket, which, by the way, Plastic House Disc Golf has a lot of power pockets in stock right now. So I know those are hard to find. If you've been looking for one of those, go to their shop. Really, really good price. He can hook you up really fast shipping. You can get that in the next couple weeks. And then just a normal Zuca Trekker card. Got this thing. I think it's at its year-old mark. I got it last year, a couple days before Christmas. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. That's what I'm throwing this year. Grip Lock discs, Plastic House Disc Golf. They have all these discs and more discs than you could ever need. Those are the only two places you should ever shop. Make sure you use my code Phil at Grip Lock Disc. That will give you 10% off and also help benefit me as I'm continuing to play disc golf this year. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. See ya.